On today's episode of Locked On Angels, it's Fan Mail Friday, and you asked, should Carlos Estevez remain the closer? And if he's replaced, who replaces him? We've got some thoughts. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your car, truck, or SUV alive. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, keep your automobile on the road at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions do apply, and the eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Thank you for being here for this Fan Mail Friday edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we've been here for 3 seasons now. It's our 3rd season here at Locked On Angels. We're lifelong fans of this Angels team, for better, for worse, and right now we're in the worse, and that's okay. We still enjoy talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday, and we're happy to have you here for Fan Mail Friday. In fact, that's what we're doing on today's show. We got so many great questions, including, what's it going to take, Mike? What's it going to take for Arte Moreno to sell this dang team? We'll get into that question a little bit later, and we've got thoughts about that one, Mike. But we're going to start today's episode out with a voicemail. Here we go.
Hey, Mike and John. My name is Justin. I'm calling in from Huntington Beach, California. My question for you is, after the first month of this season, how likely do you think it is that the Angels are going to have a winning season this year? And another question, real quick, is if you could invite 3 people to a backyard cookout from the Angels, who would you invite and why? Thanks, guys.
Justin in Huntington Beach, thank you so much for your voicemail. I love the 2-parter, Mike. First of all, what's the probability? What's the likelihood the Angels are going to have a winning record this year? And second, who are we inviting to the cookout? All right, why don't you take it away?
I'm going to start with the first question, and I really think that the winning for the Angels really depends on this bullpen, Johnny, because the offense has performed. Obviously, they're struggling with runners in scoring position. We'll get into those details in just a minute, but it's going to be up to the bullpen, honestly. And if the bullpen can come through and hold leads and not fall apart, then I think that that's going to be a key to the Angels having a winning season. Second thing is it's going to be decision-making. And what I mean by that is Ron Washington has to do 2 things. One, not bring in your long reliever or your garbage time reliever when you're only up or when you're only down by a couple of runs.
Yeah.
You have to bring in your good bullpen pieces. 2, I think he has to coach and he has to manage this team and this offense specifically by dictating like what they do in those moments when they're struggling with runners in scoring position. I think he has to teach them how to bunt. I think he has to call for some of those things. Hey, give me a half swing, move the runner over to third base. Those types of things I think are really going to be important for the Angels to get out of this struggle bus that they're on, but also to be a team that actually is going to be competitive and maybe get back to the 500 mark. So those are just some thoughts off the top of my head. What about you?
For me, I'm going to answer the cookout question, and I'm going to pick Gooby, of course, because it's going to be a great conversation. I'm actually going to pick Ron Washington, Mike. I think
he's got some stories.
Oh, he's
right?
got all the stories. And then, if it's me and we're going old school, or maybe it's not anybody currently with the Angels, it's going to be Weaver for me. Ding, because he's my favorite Angel of all time. But if I got to pick somebody on this team right now, I think I'm going to go Logan O'Hoppe. I think I want to talk to Logan O'Hoppe. Cool. He'd be a lot of fun to have in a backyard cookout for sure.
John at the Halo Homie on Twitter asked this question: why does the national media, our local media, and the MLB hate on our Halos so much? It's like they want to make sure that we lose. For example, every single replay challenge seems to go against us. Help me understand. John, take it away.
Mike, when I was in high school and you were the youth pastor, we had a friend or somebody who was a friend of mine. Her name was Mackenzie, and she'd always get picked on. And we say, because you're pickable.
Yep.
You're easily pickable.
Yeah.
And we did it out of love. Like, of course we love Mackenzie, but I think that's what the Angels are, Mike. I think they're easily pickable, right? They're the team they're not on the East Coast. They have had so many great players over the years and one World Series to speak of. And of course they had a lot of success through the 2000s, and they had a lot of great players on those 2000s teams, but they're pickable. And the reason why they're pickable is because they haven't won anything in the last 10 years. And beyond that, I mean, I know they got to the playoffs, had the best record in baseball in 2014, but before that, from 2010 to 2013, not very good. And since 2014, not very good. And so now they're even more pickable because they had Ohtani, they have Trout, and they just haven't gone anywhere. So the national media already has a bent toward not the Angels. I mean, gosh, go back and watch some of the Boston series and some of the Yankee series that the Angels were in against them in the playoffs. And you could just know that the national media doesn't have any love for the Angels. But what do you say? What's the reason?
Yeah, they've not liked them for a really long time, because when the Angels were good in the early 2000s, you just hit the nail on the head. They were rooting for other teams. And I think a lot of it has to do with clicks. A lot of it has to do with ratings. A lot 100%. Of it has to do with what will draw eyes. And that's honestly why I really appreciate, even though he can drive people nuts, why I appreciate someone like Colin Cowherd, because he speaks about why people like things and why people don't like things. And a lot of it has to do with what's going to drive clicks and what's going to drive ratings. I think that that's one of the reasons why Ken Rosenthal had this article about Mike Trout and said that Mike Trout is, stuck. He's trapped on the Angels for the rest of his career, right?
What a travesty.
And I think he did that because he knew that it would stir up something and get him a lot of clicks. And
the rent was due. The first was the other day.
and he got what he wanted, and that's exactly what happened. And so I think a lot of it has to do with, hey, if we drop a bomb here, people are going to respond to it. And the reality of Angel fans and Angel fandom is that they really are with this team through thick and thin. And we're going to go fight for this team. And we're going to be in a position where if things don't go our way, it will be bigger than it is. I feel the same way, by the way, that it does feel bigger. It does feel like they're not like honoring us, especially when it goes to replay, those types of things. But I do think that some of those decisions from the media standpoint is because they know that they're going to get clicks and they're going to get ratings and they're going to stir up the Angel fans. When it comes to like the replays, I mean, umpiring is just atrocious across the board.
Right.
And so that I think is a whole nother conversation. I don't think that has to do necessarily with the Angels. I think it has to do with umpiring is just awful and terrible. And the fact that Angel Hernandez still has a job is remarkable to me.
Yeah. There was I think it was CB Buckner was calling an Orioles game, and the Orioles announcers were like, well, there's CB Buckner again, and he's going to do a terrible job, and nothing's going to be done about it. And I was like, dang, cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty great. Mike, Nathan Davis on Twitter said, Halos need to revamp their player development. Look at what the Dodgers are doing. There's a reason why they have so many homegrown stars and talent to make big trades. Who are the Angels listening to on this? Well, Nathan, I think there's a couple of things that we can be kind of reassured about. It's the fact that Barry Enright is pushing for the pitching labs and the hitting labs, and all indications say that they're going to be doing that in Arizona, as they say that they're starting the renovations. Now, whether that actually happens or not remains to be seen, but at least somebody there in the organization is pushing for it. Mike, there's more coaches up and down the minors this season as well, so I think that's a very good thing. And Perry Manassian has brought in a lot of those driveline guys and the guys who go and spend time at driveline to work on their pitching, work on their hitting, get hooked up to the machines and understand the mechanics of their swing and their pitching and whatnot. He's brought in a lot of those guys, and I also think that's a very good thing. Now, they've been in positions maybe like they shouldn't have been in, like pitching coach or assistant pitching coach or something like that. Now, I think that they're more well-suited for a background role. And so, really, I mean, I think that's a big aspect of what people miss with Perry Manassian. Like, yes, the free agency has been garbage. The drafting has been decent, especially with the players that we're excited about. But at the same time, I think Perry Manassian has done more for the minor leagues than has been done in the last 15 years with this team.
Here's the difference, Nathan, is that with the Dodgers, those guys get to cook. They get to marinate. They get to be in the minor leagues, right? They get to be down there and develop and do what they need to do. And then there's this anticipation, this expectation of when these guys are going to come up, right? With the Angels, they get exposed very, very quickly. All of their young guys get exposed quickly. Ben Joyce was just up last year. Sam Bachman was just up, and they just got drafted. Reed Detmers, Chase Silseth. I mean, all of these guys, Neto, Shonowell. Here's what the Dodgers do well and the Angels haven't done well. If the Angels had Jared Walsh at first base and David Fletcher at shortstop, you know who would be in the minor leagues? Nolan Shonowell and Zach Neto. Yeah. And we would go, man, I would love to get a peek at him in the major leagues. I'd love to get a peek at what he can do, right? And so that's the difference between the Angels and the Dodgers, is the Dodgers have done well through free agency and have done well through developing their team, and they've put a really good team on the field. I mean, they have Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, right? They have this phenomenal team, and then they can throw in an Andy Pages, right? Like they can throw him in there, and he can look really good because he's around these really good guys. But they anticipate and expect these guys, and they have a good developmental system. The Angels just haven't had that for the last 10, maybe even 15 years, John.
Yeah, Andy Pages was going to be part of that Luis Rengifo trade before. Yeah. Before and also like Ross Stripling and all that.
Yep.
And that was prior to 2020, Mike.
Right.
Pages just came up.
Yeah.
With the Dodgers. He's getting into major league games in 2024. So 4 years later, Pages would have been up 2020. And
yeah,
I think
probably would have played that year.
Right,
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Johnny, Ian on Twitter said, pretty sure the Angels are near the top of the league in stolen bases and caught stealing. Is this new, more aggressive approach working out?
Yeah, so the Angels are actually tied for 6th place in all of MLB with 31 stolen bases. They're tied with the Kansas City Royals. Mike, they have a 72% success rate, which means they have a 28% caught stealing rate, and they rank 3rd in the American League in terms of stolen bases. So that's exciting. Now, Bo Porter, when he spoke to Sam Blum of The Athletic before the season started, he said that they want to look at the success rate versus the total number of stolen bases. But the truth is both have been pretty good for the Angels this season. The Reds actually lead the league, 55 stolen bases already, Mike. And you can attribute that to De La Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz. He's the one.
50. He has 54 of those.
Yes, exactly. But they have an 83% success rate as a team. So, yeah, Ian's right. It's paying off. I think the aggressive approach is paying off. The Angels, again, are looking at the numbers in terms of success rate rather than the raw numbers themselves. And 72% is a pretty good number to start this season with. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are playing the Guardians at 4:10 Pacific time. It's going to be Jose Soriano on the mound. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, if the Halos are going to be sellers this year, who do they sell? Who are they putting out there? Who's for sale? We'll get into all of that coming right up.
When I'm having car trouble, my best friend in all the world is ebaymotors.com. And they're sponsoring this episode because they give you everything that you need, and they're actually super helpful. You should check out their website, ebaymotors.com. They've got everything you need to maintain your vehicle. Or if you're, a bit like maybe my older brother or like my father, and you want to upgrade, level up your car, then you can do that with eBay Motors as well. They've got superchargers and roof racks and exhaust kits and LED headlights and so much more. If you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your automobile, you'll find exactly what you need at ebaymotors.com. And they have an eBay guarantee. This is what I love because I'm terrible at this game. This is what I really appreciate about them. If you have a part that you're looking for, you can find it on their website. They guarantee that it'll fit your ride every single time or you get your money back. So visit ebaymotors.com. Keep your car, your truck, or your SUV alive there. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And the eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. It's time to make the switch to Locked On Sports today. I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program just for you every single day to bring you the biggest stories from across the sports world Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, and it's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And speaking of your team every day, Michael, the Angels are playing the Guardians 4:10 Pacific time. They'll be in Cleveland for this one. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Johnny, it's Fan Mail Friday, and let's go back to the Super Halo voicemail. Do you like that?
I love that. Let's do it.
Hey, my name is Dakota Whitmire, and I'm calling in from Orange County, California. And my question is, what's it going to take for Arte Moreno to sell the team? It seems like the fans don't want him here. The workers at the stadium don't want him here. No one wants him here. So what's it going to take? Why is he even sticking around? And yeah, well, what's it going to take for him to sell the team? Thank you.
Dakota from Orange County, thank you for your voicemail, my friend. Mike, what's it going to take for Arte to sell this team?
Nobody wants you here. Nobody. The workers comment is kind of interesting. That'd be
actually,
a fun discussion.
We got a DM from somebody who did work at the stadium during COVID and said that the ownership and Arte really looked out for them and gave them like a stipend during that time. And so I do want to be fair in that sense, that somebody did reach out to us who worked at the stadium when it was really tough. And of course the workers couldn't work because there was nobody to serve. But but getting back to what's it going to take for Arte to sell, what do you say?
Johnny, I think he's going to just be somebody that's here until he retires or passes away. I think as long as he is being able to collect his resource, and it seems like he is a baseball fan, like he loves to be around that, and that was the narrative that he said when he was selling the team, and he walked around showing people. It was like, oh man, I kind of fell in love with this. And if you believe that, then it sounds like he's just going to be in this thing for the long haul, and maybe he just gets. He's too old and he can't manage it anymore. And that's the hard part too, is that I don't think that it's really going to matter with age, because he has people in the positions that really kind of help dictate and determine what he wants for the organization. And so unless it's like Perry, calling him up and saying, hey, can we spend this money? But I guarantee you that he'll have people in place that will do that, whether it's his kids or whether it's people that are respectful of him. And then even after he passes away, whenever that might be, I think he's probably set up something to where it gets passed along to people that are kind of in his org, in his circle. And his kids have said,
don't say John Carpino.
Well, and that's the thing, is his kids have said that they don't necessarily want to run the team or be owners of the team. And so I wouldn't be surprised. He's a good business manager. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has some sort of something set up. So the reality is this, that we can shout, sell the team. We can boycott, we can protest, we can say Arte, sell the team. I honestly think he's Teflon. I honestly think that doesn't necessarily affect him in any way, shape, or form.
Well, according to the people around him, the noise was getting to him.
Sure.
When he spoke to, I think it was John Morosi, but it wasn't him that said it. It was people around him.
But could I say this? With the Angels, it always is talk and no action. Right. Yeah. And so it's even with the performance on the field, man, we're fired up. We want to do this and we want to go and we want to. Yeah. But there's no action. And then same thing with Arte, is like, oh, maybe he was like, oh, I can't believe people are saying that. But the results are he's doing what he normally does.
Still here. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing too, Mike, is you and I have said this many, many times. Like, we're not going to tell anybody how to fan, but there's a contingent out there that's like, you got to stop going to games. You got to stop padding his pockets. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop doing that. But do you want to know what he's going to do? He's going to adjust the payroll. And we see the proof of that this year. He anticipated that attendance was going to drop. He anticipated that people weren't going to show up because Ohtani wasn't on the team anymore. So what did they do? They cut payroll. So it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, if you abandon ship and you don't go to games and there's no payroll to go around because of attendance dropping, he's just going to cut it. He's just going to shrink it. Like, he's a billionaire and he's 10 steps ahead of anything that we can do in terms of attendance or not paying for tickets and things like that. So go to the games if you want. Don't go to the games if you want. But the real thing is don't watch it on TV, because that's where a lot of the revenue comes from too, is the ratings on TV. So I just don't think that there's any situation where we actually have any real influence over what Arte Moreno is going to do. Again, that the whole like, well, you're padding his pockets thing. He's got plenty of money padding his pockets already.
Right.
So he's
Right.
he's Scrooge McDuck. He's swimming in it right now. Mike,
Right.
Charles Durrell on Twitter said, why do fans still blame Arte Moreno, of whom, no, that's incorrect, whose ownership has been 500 plus in 10 of 20 full seasons of his ownership of the Angels, including 6 at 90 plus wins. The Angels only won 90 plus games in the previous 5 of 49 seasons. He didn't own the Angels. So Mike, why do the fans still blame Arte Moreno?
Well, Johnny, you just pointed it out. He's adjusting to the potential lack of attendance with the payroll. He's going and getting the player that he wants instead of letting his baseball people do baseball things like Anthony Rendon versus Zach Wheeler or Josh Hamilton versus whomever, right? Torrey Hunter. And so these are the decisions that are being made.
Greinke, there's no reason Greinke, who entered the prime of his career after he left the Angels in 2012.
Yeah.
No reason he shouldn't come back.
The reality is that what you see in the 2000s when he took over and Bill Stoneman was still there is he allowed Bill Stoneman to do Stoneman things, probably because Stoneman wasn't going to do anything other than what he felt was right because he was a good general manager and he traded for Mark Teixeira and all of those things. Nobody blames Arte for trying to sign people. What people blame Arte for is that he's not letting his baseball people do baseball things and he sees this as a business, let alone some of the controversies with the loss of
Tyler Skaggs.
Thank you very much. The loss of Tyler Skaggs with the drug scandal inside, with all of the young guys who were living in that house kind of bundled up, right? Or not even having a place for the Spanish broadcaster to broadcast. He's broadcasting from a laundry room a couple of years ago. Now the new guy, Marco, is actually at the stadium. I had the privilege of meeting him. That was kind of cool.
Nice.
And so things are improving there. But this is why it's not just, the team's not winning and it's all of Arte's fault. That's why he's not winning. There's blame to go around, but the reality is there's a lot of layers to this that I think a lot of fans either ignore or they don't want to see, or maybe they haven't been around long enough to know what Arte has actually done.
Well, and look, he's got 20 plus years of ownership at this point, and the first 10 years were successful. But Mike, you had your Salmons and your Andersons and your Lackeys and your Weavers, all who came up through the organization. And the truth is like that part of the organization, the player development, we just talked about it, has been abandoned the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at it in two halves, look at what Arte inherited in the first 10 years.
Yeah.
That's where all the success is. And then you look at the last 10 years, which is all Arte Moreno, all his fingerprints, all how he wants to run the business, all everything that he wants to do decision-making wise for the last 10 years. And look how it's turned out.
Yeah.
Like that's the proof. The proof is in the pudding for me. And it's the tale of two halves of his ownership. And it comes down to what he inherited in the first half versus what he's done in the second half. And the second half has not been good.
Right.
It's just what it comes down to. Mike, Zach on Twitter said, is it time to trade Sandoval since he still has team control, which could net us some better prospects? It's looking like he can't be fixed here. What do you think about trading Sandoval?
John, the we can get some prospects narrative is such an ambiguous 80,000 foot perspective. The reality is that everybody wants to throw out, man, with Ohtani, we could have gotten all these prospects. You know that for a fact, right? Like the truth is that they made the decision to keep Ohtani because they made the decision to keep Ohtani. We don't know what he would have netted, but we also know that it doesn't mean that you're going to get guaranteed prospects. Look at what happened when Mookie Betts got traded to the Dodgers and who the Dodgers have. Like Jeter Downs was supposed to be a phenomenal player. Can you tell me where he's at now?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the thing is there's this narrative of like, we can get a bunch of prospects. There's no guarantee. And you might get another version, possibly a worse version of Patrick Sandoval. Now, I don't think that means you hang on to him, but I think that I just want to address that we could get all of these prospects and we could get just a treasure trove of people. That's not a guarantee. And it's never been a guarantee. It's especially with this team, like they haven't necessarily done the best when it comes to trades or drafting or signing free agents. They don't have a winning record there. I know that they have some diamonds in the rough like O'Hoppe, right? But they had to give up a Brandon Marsh to get O'Hoppe. So I think we have to temper we could get all these prospects expectations because it's not a guarantee.
James Russell Barton on Instagram said, since we're sellers this year, I like that he's already called it.
Yeah.
Who should we sell and what prospects do you guys want to see us get? obvious guys to sell seem like Drury, Estevez, and more, maybe even Tyler Anderson with 1 year left on his contract. I don't really see us selling off Ward or Adele since they're under team control for a while, but would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Honestly, Mike, I think if they're in a position to sell, Adam Simber, Hunter Strickland, Matt Moore, Carlos Estevez, Luis Garcia, Drury, and I'd say even Rengifo, who's a free agent after 2025, and maybe even Matt Theis.
Yeah.
I think they have a treasure trove of guys who, again, aren't going to, like you just said, like you're not going to get all these number one prospects coming back towards you, but maybe you get lucky and maybe you get a Aroldis Chapman for a Cole Reagans kind of trade come the trade deadline, because that would be a phenomenal thing. But to me, nobody's off limits when it comes to the trade deadline this year.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. If you haven't tried it, you got to download it right now. They're the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Here's how it works. If you haven't heard, it works this way. You pick between 2 and 6 players and decide if that player is going to produce more or less than the projected stat. It's so easy too. When you go onto the app, the stat isn't like my Trout's going to hit 2 home runs. That might be difficult, but it actually has like Trout will hit 1 or Trout will hit 3. And you can go, nah, he's not going to hit 3. He's going to hit 2, right? Or less than that. So my point is it's so easy to use that even somebody like me can use it who's not great at fantasy. If you're great at fantasy, you're going to love this app, whether it's strikeouts or RBIs or first inning runs, take your pick, more or less of what the team will do or what the player will do, and then you put them into your entry on PrizePicks. And they also offer weekly promotions and special offers where you can win a whole lot more money, which is fantastic. So download the app today, enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, that's LOCKEDONMLB, first deposit match of up to $100. Join PrizePicks today. You can pick more, pick less, and it's that easy. And then also, Locked On Angels is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Love Monopoly, one of my favorites. You can now have it on your phone. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's got everything that you would want with Monopoly and more. They have great game boards that you can play on. There's great experiences. There's ways to track how you're doing and competing against family and friends. You can actually like cause theft and steal money, and don't tell anybody, but that's a whole lot of fun as well. So you got to download the Monopoly Go app on your phone right now. The leaderboards, you can brag about yourself when you're winning in this. There's huge tournaments. Plus, you can raise the rent and on those iconic properties. It's so much fun. So download it right now. It's free in the App Store or the Google Play Store.
Mike, we got a handful of questions left for Fan Mail Friday. Let me start out with Bobby Wasabi on Instagram. I love that. He said, do you think Adele should stop trying to steal bases? I'm not asking sarcastically. I actually really love Joe Adele. Mike, should he stop trying to steal bases?
No, I love the aggressiveness of the Angels, and I love the aggressiveness of Joe Adele. I just need Joe Adele to be more baseball savvy when he's on the bases and not overrun and be aware and those types of things. But he's got the speed, and I think he could be somebody that could be 30-30 if he's given the opportunity.
Yeah, that's the thing about Joe Adele is we've all been worried about, like, well, is his bat going to come around? Is he going to continue to strike out? And is his defense going to come around? It seems like all of that's been fine. I mean, I know he's had some screwed up plays with Aaron Hicks and Mike Trout out in right field, but it's like, when did the base running become a problem for Joe Adele? So
I know.
They really got to figure that out, because otherwise he could be a huge threat for this team. How about Joey Ingles, who DM'd us on Twitter? He said, why do you think this team has such a hard time putting the ball in play with a runner on third, less than 2 outs? Is the narrative of the last few years of being terrible in those situations does that keep getting in their heads, or do we just not have enough contact hitters on this roster?
John, I'm going to use a personal example. When I get in front of the church that I lead on Sunday, it's about 1,400 on a weekend. Like, I'm now comfortable with that. But there was a season where our church wasn't that large and we didn't have large Easters and those types of things. And now we do. And I had to adjust and pivot, because you look out and you go, well, there's a lot of people here. And if I mess this up, everybody's going to know, right? And it's more important than baseball. This is about like your spiritual health, right? So, so the reality is, I think it's the moment, and these guys just haven't grown into the moment yet. And the more experience they get in those moments, I think the better they will be. I could see somebody like Zach Neto and even Nolan Shonowell being guys who come through in that moment, because Nolan is a contact guy. He's got a great eye at the plate, and Neto feels like he's got, if he could figure it out, he's got that clutch gene in him. He's got that dog gene in him.
He just can't chase the way that he's been chasing.
Right. And that's the whole idea is you have to figure it out. I had to figure out how to teach to 1,400 or 3,000 on a Sunday for Easter. I had to learn how to do that. And they have to learn how to do that. I really think it's just a moment of learning and growing in that experience.
The swing decisions too, Mike, have been a little bit frustrating because you and I both know that we've been frustrated with like Taylor Ward or Luis Rengifo when a guy is struggling to locate or struggling to find the zone and they're throwing pitches and balls everywhere and they swing at the first pitch and we're like, guys, what are you doing? But then you have, like the Phillies the other day, you get a pitch right down the middle or something like that and they don't swing at that.
Right.
And then that's like, man, what are you guys doing? So
it
really just comes down to like the swing decisions that these guys have been making too. They got to make better you got to make good choices. You got to make better choices when they're out there. And I think that's going to come with experience.
Zorro on Twitter asked, do you think the new pitching approach has affected the Angels pitchers? Maybe it's too aggressive. Hitters know what's coming. What do you think?
I don't think that it's affected them too much. In fact, if you watch somebody like Reed Detmers, you watch him throw that big curveball to get strike one, and it's throwing the guys off at the plate because that thing starts outside the zone and ends up in the zone. And they're just like, whoa, what the heck? Where'd that come from? And I really think it comes down to the Angels finding a way to get strike one. And sometimes I guess they have to use their best pitch, Mike. I know that wasn't the goal, but sometimes these guys are having trouble locating with their fastball. And so you do see guys like Reed Detmers getting strike one on some nasty pitches.
Right.
And he did that several times and they never caught on. And I don't think guys want to swing at a big loopy curveball on strike one either. So I don't think that it's a matter of they know what's coming. I think it's been a matter of location and what pitch they're throwing on strike one. So when it comes down to it, they have to throw their best pitch in there. And I think Reed Detmers has kind of figured that out.
Okay. So what on Twitter said, should SD really be our closer? Why not Matt Moore?
Yeah. And then Almighty Gio suggested that maybe Soriano is the closer once Silseth comes back. What are your thoughts on all of that, Mike?
I think Soriano needs to be a starter. I think that they're finally thinking about long-term instead of short-term. And so I think he needs to stay where he's at. Esteves is your prototypical closer. I actually would prefer to see Matt Moore have a bit more opportunity there. I think if they make any decision or any adjustment, it needs to be a partnership between Moore and Esteves in that moment. Not just removing him completely. What do you think?
I miss Quijada. And I know he had Tommy John about a year ago.
Yeah. He's still on this roster.
Probably not ready to come back.
Yeah.
But they were kind of teaming up last year. Remember, that's the way it started for Quijada and Esteves. And then every time Quijada blew it, we'd go, why isn't Esteves closing? So that's just how fickle we are as fans.
Fickle. All right, Johnny, this one's for you. Tim with Tots on Instagram said, is John trying out a new radio voice?
Oh, no.
The last 2 episodes have a hint of Mr. Movie Phone. Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone. Go ahead and talk about what's been happening behind the scenes. And Tim with Tots, I have picked on him. You have no idea. I've been relentless about this, but we've actually talked about it, and it's kind of a serious issue, right?
The answer is yes, I'm trying out my new radio voice. That's the answer. Can I be honest with you guys? Like, I've been through the freaking ringer. For the last 3 weeks, like nonstop fevers, in the hospital, out of the hospital now, like I'm still recovering. And then to put the cherry on top, I can't hear anything. I have this weird sinus pressure or pressure on my ears. I don't know what's going on right now. And no amount of like decongestant is helping. I've been doing the stupid like neti pot thing where you turn your head upside down and do that. And that seems to be helping. But everything, I kid you not, sounds like high pitched. My wife sounds like Minnie Mouse. I get in the car and the little like startup noise, the beep, 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 is like beep, beep. And so I'm just, everything's weird.
Yeah.
And I can't hear my own voice very well. So if I feel like, I guess I was like compensating for what I'm hearing in my head the last 2 episodes that I've actually had to ask Mike, like, is this good? Is this the volume I should be at? Like, and so I'm so sorry, you guys, if I sound like a goober the last few days. I can't hear anything. So yeah, it's one thing to have like fevers and be in the hospital. Now I'm dealing with this stupid issue of my head and I can't hear anything. So I apologize for sounding that's so funny, Mr. Movie Phone.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your
Yes.
first listen of the day.
There it is.
Hey, the Angels play the Guardians today at 4:10 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
You know what? I quit. I'm done.
You can't quit. We got to finish the show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got a few more minutes. Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out Mike and I if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and get in the comments section. It's the best way to reach us. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
We're going to recap that series against the Guardians, and we're hoping for some sort of victory. Hey, can we win a series? Possibly. Let's talk about it on Monday on Locked On Angels.
All right. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Hey!
It's the Morning Zoo Crew.
Hey! Bah, bah, bah.